Delta Sleep. You guys want to say your name and what you play in the band?
Hey, my name's Devin Ujail.
He plays guitar and sings.
Yes.
My name's Blake Mostyn, and
He plays drums.
I'm Glenn Hodgson. I play the guitar and sing.
Ooh.
he plays the guitar.
My name's Dave Jackson. I play bass and sing.
Excellent, great. So,
I forgot to say I sing as well. You don't really.
My name's Blake Mostyn. I play drums and I sing as well.
it's all multifaceted. Okay, so how'd the band get started? How'd you guys meet?
So we started in Canterbury in the UK. Me and Glenn went to college together, and we just discovered a kind of mutual, love for bands and each other, and each other's guitar playing.
Stuff and shit.
And so yeah, we just started the band, me and Glenn.
Great, fantastic. Oh, absolutely, please. We encourage it. Yeah, fuck yeah. So, then at what point did you move to Brighton?
When I finished college, I went to university. I went to Brighton in like 2008, and then moved back in 2011. There's just a really, really strong music scene there. A lot of bands, lots of shows all the time. There's like quite big international acts tour around there. So I just really wanted to go there after college, and then Dev lived in London for a while, and we just commuted around for a bit, and then we got a new bassist and a new drummer in Brighton after our old bassist and drummer individually got pregnant, had their own like families and stuff, and not together.
That was some of our questions here.
Yeah. So our old bassist, our old drummer had kids, and our other drummer also played in lots of other bands, and it was just getting really difficult. We were just starting to tour, like seriously, but it was getting quite difficult. And then
beyond just like your normal regional.
Yeah, exactly. Beyond like the UK or London and the southeast of England, we started touring around like Europe and Italy and things like that a lot.
Spain, right?
That's right. But then our bassist with a new kid on the way, it wasn't ideal, and also our drummer had like another band that he was quite invested in. So yeah, it just sort of fell into place. We got these guys almost on an ad hoc basis, and then they just fit really well, and that was it.
So when did you guys join the band exactly?
It was about nearly 6 years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 5-6 years ago.
It was like 2012. So
No, it was 2013 because it was after the management was released. So it was like
It was a month or two after. Yeah.
So it was 2013, like autumn time.
Yeah, that was the first
Management
tour.
only been out for a month.
No, Twin.
Yeah.
No, we wrote
Management.
Twin.
So
Oh, yeah.
Wow. You're not on. You guys are not on management.
No, we joined literally a few months after. Oh, sorry. A few months after management. So I met these guys. I put Delta Sleep on in Leeds. I was working as a promoter at the time.
Okay.
And I put Delta Sleep on in Leeds and met them all. That was like May 2013. And then I moved to Brighton in July of that year. And I met these guys at a gig. And they were playing without a bass player.
Oh, okay. Well, fantastic. So you filled that need then. Very nice.
Yeah, so at the time our bassist had just gotten pregnant, and it was a bit of a surprise, and she was like, yeah, I'm keeping the baby and all that kind of stuff, and we had all this like tour planned out and loads of gigs and stuff, so we ended up doing loads of them without a bass. And then Dave happened to be at the Brighton show, and he'd seen us like a month or two before with a bassist, and was like, what happened? And he was like, oh, by the way, I'm a bassist. Do you need anyone? And then we had
That's
this.
how I define myself.
We had this UK tour booked with a British band called Suffer Like G Did, who are great. But yeah, he said he could play bass and fill in, and I said if you could learn all the tracks in like 2 weeks, then you're in.
It went really well. Yeah, and then that was the first tour. But Blake did a tour before that, I think.
Yeah, so before that, it was the first European tour that Delta had ever done, and I remember I was literally outside Glenn's house getting ready to pick him up so we could drive to get the ferry or whatever, and I'd found out that the old bassist wasn't going to come and that it was just going to be a 3-piece, and we just ended up saying fuck it, let's just head out there and do it anyway. So that's how I essentially got in, by doing essentially some session stuff for the tour, and then
We gotta keep this guy.
Yeah, literally.
yeah, well, the vibe was it worked anyway, you know, like we all got on really well, and the guys were quite good to me actually, because I was trying to learn the songs, but the previous drummer is a bit of a sickhead on the drums as well, so it was kind of hard for me to get into that style because it's not really my way of playing. So the guys were good, and they just said, you know, within the constraints of the structure of the song, just do your own thing. And
You're a drum instructor, is that right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I teach in a number of different schools. and I also do some private stuff as well.
What were you playing before Delta Sleep?
So I was in a post-metal band called The Maya, which is sort of like ISIS, Neurosis kind of stuff. Yeah, and then I was in a sort of jazz hip-hop band called the EME, which is...
I can hear that you're playing the hip-hop.
Yeah, man, that's kind of all I listen to, really. It's just a lot of old-school hip-hop and... Corn, yeah. Yeah, that's it.
So what are your biggest inspirations? Like, is it like it could be musical or works of fiction or art? Like, what makes you guys inspired to make music?
I need to think about that for a little bit.
Yeah, expanding upon that, I noticed that your last two albums have sort of, well, the last one definitely, the most latest one has a dystopian theme. What are your favorite works of dystopian fiction? It's a little easier.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I'd say recent ones like stuff like Black Mirror is amazing. Spike Jonze' film Her is also incredible. But yeah, we've like Blade Runner for sure.
I was actually talking. I had a little bonding moment earlier on today in a bar just around the corner. Some guy was reading a graphic novel. I love graphic novels, but there's a really, really good one on the subject of dystopian stuff called by Alan Moore called The Filth.
That's a good title.
Yeah, it's just a really dystopian graphic novel about comic book police. Sounds really weird. Yeah, I just love it. Yeah, it's the kind of, I don't know, kind of Kafka, not Kafkaesque. It's just like really postmodern. It's like a comic about comics. Yeah, it's quite cool.
So what happened to that self-titled debut EP?
Christian and I are both very curious about this.
Got
We
some
can
beef.
only find it on YouTube these days, and it's just very, very
Check it off
difficult.
Bandcamp. I know it's on your YouTube, but
We want
otherwise
answers.
It's kind of hard to find. You just don't want people to hear that anymore as much.
There's about 7 copies of it in the Small Pond van, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
In a CD wallet, yeah.
My company's van, there's about 7 blank copies.
Oh, so
of
do you
that.
work for Small Pond then?
I run Small Pond.
Oh,
Yeah.
you run Small
With
Pond.
Wow.
It's like 4 or 5 of us.
I love the Small Pond session videos.
that's it,
They're
man.
fucking brilliant.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been going for a few years now. But there's loads of copies in there if you want.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think really what happened was that was our first ever like recording as a band. I think we just started the band Delta Sleep before we used to be in a band called Savlon, which is kind of like a joke band. Yeah,
Sure,
and that's
yeah.
why that first track is called that. But it was our first ever recording. We were pretty young and like not really that experienced, and we kind of made a lot of mistakes. Like we didn't fully get behind all the choices we'd made during the recording and production process. And I think once management came along, we were super happy with how the songs were feeling, and we felt like we properly discovered our kind of formula in a
Yeah,
way, and we kind of wanted to move on
That's
a little
it.
bit and just like cut all ties with like the first thing, which kind of we weren't super happy with.
It was like that first EP was almost another band, really. Like it was like, so this was like our college project, I suppose. We were in this band called Savlon, and we just, I don't know.
What was Savlon? I mean, was it Delta Sleep?
Was it
Yeah,
Mathcore?
it was. It was totally Delta Sleep with the old bassist and the old drummer, and it was just like a kind of. We were just discovering how to play guitar and how to play. We're all like discovering how to play all the stuff, and you know what I mean. We're all buying effects pedals and not really. It was just everything was a blank slate. We didn't really know what we were doing, and it applied also to songwriting and also recording, which, like Dev said, I mean, we didn't commit to any of the things that we'd done because we didn't know what we were doing. It was like, okay, what's multi-tracking mean and all that kind of stuff that unless you've recorded, then you know. Probably you don't know what that means or what it implies or.
It carries on like the Delta Sleep sound though, because like a management, there's still the inserts there. I mean, it's the same sound almost, you know.
Yeah.
Like basically, we still really appreciate it and enjoy like finding it these
But you
days.
just felt like
so.
management was a much better representation of your
Yeah.
your product.
And we wanted, and also because with management, we teamed up with Big Scary Monsters, which is our label, and we felt like, right, this is like the beginning for us, so we kind of wanted, a fresh start in a way from there.
Yeah, it seems you found a good home with that label. You know, the takeaway shows, are those like more spontaneous or are they like deliberate? Like when you went to Japan, did you have that planned out? You guys like
We are really big
session
fans of the
video?
live sessions. Like they're great.
Yeah, I mean, the takeaway shows, I love doing them as well. We're actually planning on doing a couple out here. They are very spontaneous. Like we plan to do them, but we never know what exactly is gonna be or where it's gonna be. So we're kind of planning to do a couple this time around, but we don't really know what location it's gonna be in.
So the production value is amazing. Who's filming? Who's doing it all? I guess.
Well, so the one in Japan was our good friend Neil Coffey. I work with him sometimes. We made videos under a name called Milk Time Productions, and we've made a few videos for like a couple bands. It's not really that active anymore, but that was all Neil's stuff. And then this time we've got Tom Brooker, who's a good friend of ours. But I guess like I'm a filmmaker as well, so I tend to like direct a lot of the stuff.
I wanted to talk about that next, actually. So, yeah, speaking of videos, we love the videos that you direct. El Pastor, San Soleil. Were those like your directorial debuts, or have you done film directing previously?
No, I mean that's my job. So in terms of music videos, I haven't done too much. So the Delta Sleep stuff is kind of like a blank canvas for me to just like experiment with, really. But I used to work at Vice in London for like 5 years, and I was kind of like making documentaries, like editing and filming a lot of stuff, and so kind of got a lot of experience through that. And now I'm just like freelance like filmmaker. So mostly like documentary, online content kind of stuff, and a bit of music video.
Bit of a stock question here, but this is your second time in the U.S. What's been your favorite city so far?
For me personally, Seattle so far. Yeah, Seattle was a really cool city.
It's a special city for sure.
Yeah, and the venue we played was amazing. We played Chop Suey. It's just like this kind of really cool shaped building, and that was our first show as well, so we were quite jet lagged and confused. But so maybe it was just that. But no, that was a really cool show. And yeah, I think tonight's gonna be really fun as well. Actually, the venue downstairs is great.
I'd agree with that.
Cool.
Because we were out in the East Coast like a couple of months ago as well, but I think Chicago really took me by surprise. I really loved it there, and I've kind of always wanted to head out there. I think we were kind of lucky with the weather. It was still really sunny, and we went and swam in Lake Michigan, and yeah, it was sweet. But yeah, this time round I think Seattle was really good, but I think it all depends on if we get a chance to actually spend some time there as well. You know, when we are on tour, it's all very like, you're in one city one day, then you go to the next, the other. But when we land, and when we first came, this time and the time before, we actually got given 2 or 3 days to actually chill out in the area. And I think that goes hand in hand with us liking that place better, because out of all of the cities that we visit.
Did you have someone showing you guys around, or?
Not so much. I mean, we had a few different tips that people had said, and when we did the show, because this time was quite hardcore actually, because we flew in and then played the show on the same day that we flew in, so we were pretty trashed. Yeah.
What about you, Glenn? What's your favorite city so far?
I mean, I definitely think Seattle's been my favourite, just because we had 2 days off there. So actually,
you guys just got weed there, so that's
yeah, that as well.
Seattle.
I'm gonna throw a curveball and say Flemington, New Jersey.
Why?
Just because it was like the smallest show that we played last tour. Probably the shittest show we played as well.
Yeah, it was good.
I mean, it was alright, but Flemington, why not?
Another kind of standard question here, but what's been your favorite U.S. band that you've played with so far? You guys played with Snooze, you played with Standards, you played with Floral. I love all those bands.
Standards,
Invalids.
I'd say Lifted Bells in Chicago.
Oh yeah,
were really
sure.
great.
They were fucking awesome.
It's the new band from, do you know Braid? Like old school, like.
Kind of like 90s Midwest emo, akin to American
I've
football.
never
I
heard of
suppose.
Braid. No.
Yeah, it's
Really?
great. Really?
I think I've seen the name on last.
They got an album called Frame and Canvas,
That's like classic
which
album.
is just like super good 90s kind
I'm
of
a big
Midwest
like
emo.
I'm a big
Mathcore
like emo
Index has some
screamo
homework to
Midwest
do.
person.
Yeah.
Like, I've never heard of
I'm
Braid.
surprised.
Braid, man.
Gonna have
Braid
to
are awesome.
get that by the end of the night there. Yeah.
Frame and Canvas, it came out in 98, I think. So it's quite like seminal old like emo
It's
album.
awesome. It was the singer for Braid and also guitarist for There.
Yeah. But then other than that, who else? Floral was sick. Floral were really cool.
Yeah, Floral were great.
Invalids are great as well.
Yeah.
Didn't really understand what was happening the first 2 times. After,
Yeah.
after like the
Fourth,
third
no,
time, I was like, oh, now I understand what's happening.
It's a ride. It's a fucking ride.
It's like a strobe light.
Boston. That had
Oh
those
shit!
trumpets.
Yeah, the most.
Yeah.
Oh,
God.
yeah, they were
They were
most
the
fucking
ones.
great.
They were amazing. They
They're
were great.
so sick.
Yeah.
They
The
had
most-
quite a kind of like almost quite a wonky hip hop feel to them. They had like a full horn section pretty much, and the drummer was just off the chain.
So, what is the typical songwriting process for Delta Sleep? Like, do you start off with music and then write lyrics around that, or do you start off with like a lyrical motif and then try to write a musical theme around that? Or
Well, I mean,
Music normally comes before the lyrics.
Yeah.
so Dev writes all the lyrics. So I mean, we wouldn't come in with lyrical ideas. It would just be like, we have riffs, we'll jam it around for ages, and then I guess all while that's happening, Dev will be kicking up some sort of narrative or something like that might, or maybe he has lyrics that he already kind of has tucked away somewhere that he'll try putting onto it. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, generally Glenn and I come up with like the melodic parts, like we write the songs like instrumentally, or like the individual riffs anyway. Then we'll bring it to the band practice room, and then we'll kind of mess around with a few like structure ideas, I guess. Then all the while I'll like kind of be thinking about vocal patterns and things like that. And that generally, once the lyrics are written, that tends to structure the song and determine which parts are played for what amount of time, or like kind of structuring the song a bit, I guess. Something
It's
like
a lot
that.
back and forth. Like we spend a lot of time just going around, like lengthening parts and then getting rid of parts. Or
Beautiful.
so,
yeah,
do you guys like write stuff in the studio? Like when you went to Italy, did you like?
we finished a few tracks off in Italy for sure. Yeah,
We write some interludes as well.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
wrote a couple of bits out there. I actually think probably for Ghost City, maybe the album was 80%, maybe 85% finished, and then we just liked. Actually, we took a bit of a risk and just left little bits of it undone and finished it at the studio. So Floater, we finished completely in the studio.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Dream Thing initially was just going to be a little interlude riff, and then it turned into a song. Also,
Quite a nice music video with it too. So
Yeah.
thanks. Also, Ghost and Glass, we fully made. We didn't even have those ideas. I mean, we had maybe little bits, like maybe I had my little bit, but we'd never played the whole song.
Yeah,
So
I think-
actually, a few of the tracks on the album were totally just came together in the studio.
those are the interlude tracks, right? The instrumental. side.
Yeah, so Ghost, Glass, the two interlude tracks, and then also Floater right at the end, the last track, and really Dream Thing just sort of did itself. It was just easy.
I think
I
for
think you'll
Glass,
find it's called Dream Thang.
for Glass,
Eye
it was,
rolls.
Like, actually, I think the one take that is actually
Ghost
on the
as well.
album.
Ghost and
Ghost
Glass,
is one
is
take.
just one
that
take.
one take. And yeah, we were just messing around with some loops and
and then we-
pedals and stuff, and then we just started playing, and Mark was recording, and yeah, finished, and we were like, well, that sounded pretty sick, and then he was like, yeah, got it. And that was kind of it. Yeah, man, it's
totally.
cool.
That was the first time we've ever recorded like that, though, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else now.
Yeah.
Like really like an organic product doing it that way, I suppose.
I mean, multi-tracking's good, and I've done that. You know, I've done with Twin and with Management. I multi-tracked like everything really. Whereas on Ghost City, it was just like
Mostly like.
it's almost most of it is live, and then we just overdubbed like the overdrive guitars or harmonies and things like that. So
We spent like the first 2 days just kind of setting up the drum sound, setting up all the amps, and kind of getting the sound, and then the rest of the time just playing the songs through a
drum
few times and
sounds
stuff.
on that album are dialed too.
Yeah, nice. So that's Mark Roberts, the producer. He's just insane. He's I guess kind of famed for just getting a really decent drum sound, but overall,
The snare is everything there.
yeah, man, yeah.
So what led you to the decision to go record in Italy versus like local?
It's just better.
Well, yeah, it's just well, we kind of checked out the costs. Well, for the studio we found, really, that's the main reason we went to Italy, because we actually were invited to record. We did the live version of Camp Adventure there, like the full band version. We recorded that in Italy, they invited us to do it there, the producer. And so ever since that session, we've always wanted to go back. And so we just checked out the cost to go to Italy, and it worked out the same price to record in like a studio in the UK than it did to go to Italy, play a few shows, and then
it was
record.
actually,
It was
less.
cheaper to go to Italy, so
Yeah.
we booked like 4 gigs on the way down, recorded, and then 4 gigs on the way back. And
So crazy.
Recording costs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
so like,
basically paid for the cost of recording, coming down and doing like 3 full shows on the way down, 3-4 shows on the way back. It was more or less
Yeah, we found a hotel that was like 2 minutes from the studio, and it was like €10 a night each or something, and you get like a big pizza and a carafe of wine, and there's a pool, and
It was really beautiful weather, and we had a swimming pool. It was just
Of course, you're gonna finish a fucking album.
Everywhere.
when you're-
I was just about to say, yeah, you're
There's a chance that nothing was going to happen.
totally. I noticed that you guys are always in some beautiful locale. The Italy place where the studio was looked amazing, judging by the little snippets and studio teasers you were putting out. So where do you guys? What's like your favorite place to travel to?
Italy's probably up there, to be honest.
Italy's definitely there, just because the food is great, but other than that, we've got like a label out there, like a kind of really cool DIY label who've been helping us out, called Toulouse-Lautrec, and they have great bands in there on their label. And Toulouse-Lautrec. Yeah, it's quite like screamo-y, quite shoegazy post-hardcore stuff. It's quite big.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's probably got to be Japan. I think when we went out there, that was a real bucket list thing, and yeah, just to be playing shows in a country that personally, and I think everyone else has always dreamt of going out to, was just pretty amazing. So I find myself there if I can.
But I'd say the US as well, man. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the experiences from playing in the US, like I don't really think we've seen like crowds like it, you know, and the enthusiasm and people just like moshing and crowd surfing and just
like
properly
singing all
wigging
every
out, you know,
single word,
and like our normal crowds are a bit more reserved, especially in the UK. You know, it's a bit more chin scratchy, appreciate from afar.
Arms folded, just kind
Yeah, that's literally it. You know, anoraks done up, and you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But I just think, I think we were really blown away by the American crowds and how just the general enthusiasm. You know, it's just been sick.
Yeah, it's difficult to put one place, to be honest. Japan's probably up there as number one, I suppose, just because it was like always a dream to kind of go out there and do the tour. But I mean, equally, coming out to the US for us is a dream. I mean, we grew up with like American bands and US fucking pop culture and stuff, like listening to hardcore bands and even pop punk stuff, and even, but it's like a joke, but even going way back as far as that, like even things like Nickelodeon
Cartoon
and stuff.
Network.
Even little things like that, actually, sometimes I might go to a place and be like, fuck, this feels really familiar, but it's because like you kind of recognize it from like cartoons and stuff, just the way streets are set up out here and all that kind of shit. You know what? I don't know, it's really hard to explain. Even like watching something as simple as The Simpsons, like actually the way that houses are kind of set up on the streets out here, you kind of driving past like, fuck, this actually feels like you're just in a TV show that you've seen.
Yeah.
Or you know, so
literally, man,
that for us is also a bit of a trip, to be honest.
Love it.
Yeah, New York's a trip like that as well.
Oh,
Like, you
man.
just get the maddest sense of deja vu because you've seen it in everything.
Oh, New York feels like New York. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, San Francisco too. You come here, it's all the houses are getting like, no shit. That's what it is here.
right.
Okay,
It
yeah.
literally looks like that.
Yeah. And then you go to Oakland, just totally Oakland. Feels different. Our houses are different. Everything's
I gotta ask, did you go to the Seinfeld diner?
No, where's that?
Is that
New York.
Cat's Delicatessen?
It's not. It's
Tom's restaurant.
Tom's restaurant.
Shit, no.
Yeah.
Next time.
The inside doesn't look like the inside. Yeah, not at all.
It doesn't
Yeah.
make a sound stage, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Well,
Next time.
Yeah.
So, you guys went down to Mexico, was it last year?
Yeah, let's do it.
How did you guys like playing down there? It seemed like the math rock scene is like really strong right there, or down there right now.
Yeah, it is. It is really strong. There's a bunch of really quite dedicated promoters and DIY like kind of record label stuff, and like just a really strong scene out there. And I'd recommend anyone to go play there or watch shows there, especially if you're from like South California. You can pop over reasonably easily.
Yeah, talking about fans as well, like they go mad.
Yeah,
like,
they
go
really go mad.
Paolo's super cool. I mean, you guys know Paolo, right?
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Paula,
Paula,
yeah. How do you know her?
Just social media.
Oh, cool.
So she
has
came
a
out
blog.
to Arctangent with us to.
She went to Art Tangent as well.
She flew
Yeah,
out
she's
to
allowed to
Arctangent.
Arctangent
She
with
loves
us.
y'all.
Yeah.
Hey, we love her.
Yeah.
Poo poo, we love you.
Outside poo poo.
All right, well, guys, thank you so much for talking with us. It was really awesome.
Excited to hear you guys tonight.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys.
I hope you don't suck.
Yeah, definitely. We hope so too, for sure.
Our expectations are sky high.
All right, guys, let's do this.
Nice.